Video games. Pretty fucking awesome. I love them. I think they're pretty cool and pretty fun to play, you know, every now and then. Ever since I was growing up, I had my little Nintendo 64, and, you know, I was playing, all the great classics, you know, the Super Mario 64, Mario Kart 64, Mario 64, a lot of Mario stuff. uh, okay, the last one doesn't exist, but yeah, I was playing a lot of Nintendo 64 games. I had my PS1, and I practically grew up with video games my entire life with like these consoles and whatnot, you know? And it was really awesome having those video games in store for me, just especially since like, you know, my parents didn't really understand American culture at this point, you know, they were just kind of like I th- if I remember correctly, either they got these consoles from Iran, like somehow, and I can understand it in English, right? Or they got it in like some random garage sales. Like, yeah, he's a kid. Yeah, he needs some video games. I guess that's what the kids doing nowadays, right? And, like that sort of stuff. Uh, and um, and yeah, honestly, video games were really awesome at the time because like, well, it's just a fun little hobby of mine to do. It was just fun to do in general, but also something that I think a lot of people take into granted when it comes to video games in general is that it sparks a lot of creativity, right? And well, I mean, for some it does, for others, right? Like it depends on how you use it, but that's something we'll get into later in this video. But either way, it sparked a lot of my creativity, along with like TV shows that I watched and like other wacky things. Because like I was growing up in the golden age of animation and cartoons, like or Western media rather, and you know we got I was so glad I grew up with classics like Samurai Jack, and then you know you got the OG SpongeBob, and then got some Rugrats and like Powerpuff Girls, and like all those cool shows. Like good times. And I'm sounding like an old man right now. Like, hey, look at these old shows. It was super good back then, right? And all the all that shit. But but yeah, for real though. I mean, it was nice, and you know, I got to like experience and enjoy that kind of medium, and it was just so fun. Like it was just a great time, honestly, right? And it helped me get through like a good amount of things in life. You know, some shitter than others. I mean, it just happens, right? Especially considering that you know when I was growing up, there was the whole financial situation with you know being broke under $500,000. Well, I'm sorry, I didn't say anything. No. um yeah, there's that situation. But hey, video games are there to help and ease things and to enhance creativity and explore and blah blah blah. This like hippie do that shit, right? It's cool and all, but you know, at some point it did take a toll. I will admit. I believe it was like around middle school. Once I started to get an Xbox 360, right? Actually, I think I still not in my room, but I have it in this household in general, in my brother's room. But uh, when I got an Xbox 360, I got games like Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, GTA 5, and like games I probably shouldn't be having when I was 12, but I did anyway. So yeah, there's that. But yeah, I had those video games for a good bit, and I played a lot of it, and I mean a lot, right? And holy fuck, like when I say a lot, I mean like 12 hours, 15 hours a day. Yeah, that much time. Yeah, right. It was a stupid amount, and you know, at some point I'm like, okay, well, rather like I got more of a slap in the face from my parents a little bit, like, you know, like a figurative one where you know they're like, "Hey, you might not want to do this because like this is gonna like hurt your mental health, or like you should go outside and like touch some grass, you know that kind of shit." And I'm like, "But no, mom, I need to grade my oh." I know my mic, but no, mom, I need to grade my GTA. I need to your you know, like uh, the yogurt, the weak yogurt meal shit, you know, that type of beat. But and you know, I was doing that the entirety of my middle school, which is kind of a shame because I felt like I would have enjoyed middle school a bit more and probably grown a lot more as a person around that period had I just not played a lot of video games and just did normal people shit, or at least like pondered my thoughts or like did some reading, like did something different. But we'll get to that later, right? So up around comes my freshman year of high school, okay, and like at this point, it's like yeah, I get into a STEM school and I'm in like this completely new environment. I don't know what's going on. On top of that, there's also a harder workload in this school. So I'm like, I don't know how to manage this. I don't know. I'm just gonna bullshit my way through. And this is where video games really go into like a negative route for me, where it's like, I used it more as a coping mechanism. I used it to, as like a form of escapism in a bad way, right? And so I kind of push aside my work. I don't really do a lot of activities. I sit at home a lot. I bottle up my feelings, and it ends up not being good for me at that point, right? And this carried on a little bit to like sophomore, junior year of high school ish, around that period, where my cousin at this time he immigrated from Iran over to America. God, why am I so gassy? Fuck. It's like every time I record these videos, I'm gassy as fuck. but but yeah, so my cousin immigrated from Iran over to America, right? And from that point on, since he was like the more athletic one, I was like more the, I guess, creative nerd one, I guess, right? Still kind of is to this day, but uh, but what is it? He came over to the States and he's like, "Yo, your fat ass needs to work," because like at the time I was like chunky big, like I was like, right, like a fucking dumpling, basically. I'm a pumpkin, built like a pumpkin head ass. but but yeah, so there was that. And I'm like, shit, okay, yeah, I should probably work out, lift some weights. And my god, was that I had such a good time just having a break from video games and like now playing as much as I did back then. It was still pretty bad. I think it was like 4 to 6 hours a day, but it was much better compared to back then, which, oh my god, so much better, right? So there was that. I learned how to use video games more in like a controlled set. Oh, not really, because I was doing esports at the time, so there was that. And then at some point as well, pandemic, like fast forward a little bit, pandemic hits after my senior graduation in high school. And then I'm just sitting at home for like a whole month and playing video games until I get this thought where it's like, I shouldn't be using video games in like a coping mechanism. So, damn, I'm dying. But, but yeah, I shouldn't be using games as a coping mechanism of any means. I need to stop playing this for a little bit and do something else. Hence, the whole voice acting thing was born. And then I carried on with that. I had a whole period where I just stopped playing video games altogether. But now I'm starting to go back into it in a more healthy manner. And right here in this video, after that whole like storytime spiel, I'm here to tell you how to get back into that like nice rhythm, how to like, get back into things for real. So, and here's the thing, right? It's all about the mindset really when it comes to video games, how you see video games, right? Because it depends on age. If you like probably when you were in elementary school, you saw it as more of like, oh, I'm having fun, I'm having this like great time. It's like a fun experience, just like going all over the place and shit, right? But sooner when you got older, you started to probably use it as a coping mechanism of some sort of means, right? And that's with everyone. Everyone has done that at some degree, and whether they like to admit it or not, they have done it intentionally or unintentionally. I can't say it for real, but so there's that, right? But like again, if you shift that like mindset to have more of like your childish mindset, where it's like, oh, video games are fun, it enhances my creativity and all this sort of shit, and don't bullshit yourself, right? That's a big one. Don't bullshit yourself, because I've seen so many other people who are in like this like who are basically depraved and like what is it? They're hella down bad. They're just playing a fuck ton of video games for such a long time, like. And I mean that 10 to 12 hour like streak basically, every day, mind you. And they don't do anything else. So they might do like a minute of walking or some shit, but that's it, you know. But but either way, like you don't want to end up like those people, because, one, they're most likely pushing their work off on the side. They're inhibiting their like route to success or whatever into what sort of aspirations or goals they want to achieve to make their life fulfilled. But also just like think about it for a second. Like, does it not sound depressing to play video games for that long of a time? And if it doesn't to you right now, then I want you to reflect on like things that have happened to you, and like look at the past couple months, okay? And I'm assuming that you probably play games like Destiny 2 or like some like really grindy game. I'm gonna assume you did that. And assuming that, right? You know, can you look back in the 2 months and say, I had a really good time? Like, genuinely, can you say that? And if you can say yes, with full confidence, right? Either you're delusional, or maybe you are actually happy. And you know what? Good on you. Maybe you're bullshitting, and that's also a third possibility, but I don't fucking know. As I don't know you that well, right? I'm just a man on the screen, and I got my microphone, and I go, you know, the stupid shit. But, yeah. So there's all that. There's all that to consider. But, you know, but if you realize that this is a problem for you, you don't have to cut video games off completely. And I've watched a good amount of self-help YouTube videos to sort of get like the general message from others that say like, oh, video games are overall bad. You should not play video games at all. And I'm like, I mean, no. I disagree with that. See, because like you know, they bring up some valid points. Like, yes, it will inhibit you from doing some things. Like, it is a distraction. Yes. Same with all entertainment. Same with this. This is technically a distraction to a degree, right? But I call it as like a trade-off. You know, like you're trading your time to watch this video for you to get some knowledge that I've learned over the years, right? At the same time, in a sense, I'm also entertaining myself in a way, right? I'm spending my time, my so far 11 minute, about to be 12 minutes now, and I'm spending my time recording this video and do like bare minimum editing and publishing it on YouTube and all that, so that I can show it to other people, help other people with their journey, and just you know, like make sure that they don't go through the bullshit I had to go through in life, like early on, because my God, I felt like I genuinely could have had a better high school experience, like social life, social aspect wise, and like being physically healthy. Probably could have got a girlfriend, who knows, right? And here I am, 20 years old, and I still haven't had a girlfriend, so yeah. I'm still a virgin, baby, let's go! And, but yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm just kind of living my life, you know? And I'm still learning as I go, of course. But anyways, that's side tangent. But, what was it going on about? Alright, video games. And, mindset-wise. Yeah, so, you can't just have the mindset of, like, it's cope. You need to see it as, like, a trade-off for something beneficial, okay? In a healthy manner. Like, for example, like, what do I say? At 2 or 3 hours, okay? Let's say 2 to 3 hours, because let's be honest, 1 hour of video gaming, yeah, you could do that. You're not gonna make it that far though, with like story-based games, or like maybe some multiplayer games, sure, like a couple matches, whatever, right? But realistically, you're gonna do 2 to 3. So 2 to 3 hours, and you know, around that time period, I think that's a healthy amount where it's like, okay, fine, you know, I've got enough video games for the day, and at that point, you know, I could just go ahead and just call. Like, that's like your rest period. That's an actual rest, okay? That's also your time for your brain to be more creative and more aspirational for things, you know? Because as a creative myself, right, as someone who did a good amount of voice acting, a lot of my shit was based off of video games and anime and all this, like, media shit, whatever, right? And a lot of voice actors I've talked to, you know, they say that the reason for them getting into voice acting was because of video games and anime and all this shit. Say that with illustrators, say that with like writers, or like other people, like sound effects people, producers, musicians, all those people, they collectively came together because they got that creative influence from video games, you know? And if you see video games as that creative influence, good, right? And it doesn't have to be for like directly creative shit. It could just be for like the sciences, right? Like what is it? I actually have like I made a whole theory, right, which I could talk about in another video maybe, if you guys are interested, about you know, how I think Senator Armstrong's nanomachines actually work. And I mean, just a quick spoiler, I'm just gonna say right now, you know, because why not? I believe it's based on the endocrine system and like how that works. That's just my theory, right? But like I came up with that because I was playing Metal Gear Rising, and like I saw Senator Armstrong, I saw like the way that like his arms turn all like steel iron, right? And I was like, damn, how the fuck did he do that? I want to think of that. And like I thought of something, and like it was just fun to just think of it like that. But if I kept on, but like if I was any of the people that were like speedrunning the game, or like I was trying to find exploits, I was doing data mining on it, like data collection, it's like it just sounds fucking boring and lame as shit. I'm sorry, my guy. Like I can use that same like sure, those same skill sets, like having those skill sets in general is good, but why use it on a video game? Like it's just meant for pleasure and just to play around with. Like you're not supposed to take it that seriously, you know? And I know what some people are thinking, but esports exist. That's not really playing video games. That's just, I hate saying this, but it's just like sports, right? A reason I hate saying this is because, like, me personally, if I look at esports, right, I don't really see it as an actual sport. But at the same time, there is chess, which is considered an actual sport, which is just mind game, right? So I mean, sure, yeah, there's like sort of mind aspect to it, and yeah, there's like you need to be physically conditioned for sitting long periods of time, blah blah blah. But I would count it as like a traditional sport. I mean, granted, I guess it's not really a traditional sport in general, but that's a side rant right there. But but either way, I keep on going way off tangent of this video, but I'm sorry. There's like so many things I could talk about with video games in general, and how good they are, but also how bad they could be. Because, well, here's the thing, right? And I'm gonna live by this quote for quite a while at the least. But video games are not the problem. Video games are a tool. I'm gonna let that sink in for a second, okay? And I want you to think about what do I mean by this quote, you know? Because what I mean by this quote is that, so a lot of people, again, as I mentioned before, in the self-help community especially, they always say like, oh, video games are the problem. Video games are bad for you. Video games fuck up your mind. They inhibit you from doing all these like great things. They prevent you from getting bitches. Everything like that, right? The entire spectrum. And, they're going like some sciencey bullshit about like how it degrades your brain and blah blah blah. And like the other people in the spectrum are like, no, video games are really good for you. They enhance your brain. And, oh, excuse me, sorry, I got something stuck in my nose. But they'll say like, oh yeah, it enhances your brain and like speeds up your reflexes and like your cognition and like all these other crap, right? But I disagree with like both points. I'm going on like the whole stance of oh Jesus, my nose. I'm going on the whole stance of just like a spiritual aspect of it, in a weird, as weird as that sounds, right? And like a more spiritual aspect of video games where it's like you're literally, quite literally, you're in a different world. And quite literally, you are a different person. You're like playing a different lifestyle, right? At that point. And so it's like I see this like an interactive movie in a sense, where it's like or at least the games that I play, because like I played as a Payday 2, I was playing The Witcher 3 recently. There's like those games, right? Metal Gear Solid 5, Metal Gear Rising. Like those are more recent games, right? And those feel like interactive movies in a certain degree. Yes, there's a level of skill, and yes, I have to use my cognition and blah blah blah, like all that shit. But that's not the reason why video games are good. That's just more of like a side effect of it, you know? The reason why video games are good is just because it allows your mind to think in a different way. It allows your mind to think just better, in a sense, you know? But again, you have to do it in a more controlled mindset. That's a big thing here. You need to control it. Because if you let your brain just tell you, I want to play video games, be more pleasure, right? then your brain's gonna be fucked at that point. You know, you're not gonna have like you're gonna hate video games at that point. You're gonna see it as the problem then. But if you just take like a bit of time, like you don't play video games too much, like every couple of days or something like that, or like whatever, you have absolutely nothing better to do and you want to like have a form of escapism in a healthy manner, then yeah, sure, video games are good. I wouldn't see why not. Like, it enhances creativity, gives you a good story. Like, I cannot stress the whole creativity thing. Like, it is so important, especially since it's a form of media, and it could possibly push you into the direction, whether directly creative or indirectly creative, like the sciences, for example, or marketing, right? Or like There's like so many different aspects you can look at video games. It's actually insane, right? But again, I mean, if I were to talk about everything at this point, this is going to be a much longer video. So I'm going to stop actually right here while my nose keeps on fucking with me. And, what do you call it? And I mean, really though, like, as I stated before in this video games are not the problem. If anything, you're the problem if you see it as the problem, okay? Now, of course, I'm not saying like, oh, you're a bad person. It's just more of like, you know, your mind is fucked, right? You need to like give your mind a break from video games and like show it something else because for the most part, you probably got really comfortable with video games and you haven't allowed it to sort of like experience something new or different. So, with that in mind, you know, give your mind a break. Let it like try something new and different. And you know, if you let it do that, then you're gonna like your brain is going to appreciate you a lot more, and you're gonna have a better time, and just it's just gonna feel nicer, man. Trust me when I say this because I was in the same situation too, as I said in the beginning with my story spiel. Okay, so yeah, I mean, I really have nothing else to say except just to end it off with the quote again. Video games are not the problem. Video games are a tool. Right? Thanks. And of course, in my traditional fashion, I'm gonna do some beatbox here.